Except this whole, burning myself alive, that's asking a little too much. Nope, you don't find that question. Then Allah says, put a knife to your son's throat. Go ahead. And he says, I love Islam, but I also love my son. I don't know, can you give me a logical explanation for why I should do this? Can you tell me the social benefits or some of the other reasons, other benefits that why I should be obeying you? إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. There's a reason Allah taught us that lesson in Surah Al-Baqarah. Whenever Allah said to him, give yourself up, submit, surrender, he said, I surrender, I give myself up. I submit myself entirely before the Master of all peoples, بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So before we talk about any aspect of deen and try to figure out the logic of it, understand the larger purpose. Allah has made this deen one of submitting to Him. If you're having a hard time submitting to Him, you're having a hard time with Islam itself, the very central idea of deen itself. It's not to say you shouldn't understand the ahkam of Allah, but you and I have to be ones that once we understand them, we have to, whether we get it or not, whether we see the logic of it or not, we have to give it up. We have to just give it up. Allah Azza wa Jalla even acknowledged in Surah Al-Baqarah when it came to riba. He said, well, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّهُمْ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا الْبَيْعُ مِثْلُ الرِّبَى. It's a very interesting discussion. Allah Azza wa Jalla says there are people who consume riba and they say that, that's because they say that business is just like riba. I mean, if you look at liquid transactions as solid transactions and money and cash and what it's backed by, and it's a complicated discussion. It could go either way. You can't even tell the difference. 1920, potato, 1-2 lines in a contract. I mean, what's the big deal? It is the same. And if you sit and have a 4-hour argument with a finance major about whether riba is halal or not, or what's the difference between riba and business, you might say, yeah, it's the same, yeah. I don't see the practical difference. But Allah then made only one line. Instead of explaining to you the fine line differences between them, He said there's only one more thing you need to know. Now that you understand, to you in your head they're very similar, there's only one more thing. وَأَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَى. End of story. Allah made business halal and He made riba haram. That is it. That's the conclusion. Now with that background in mind, I want you to, inshallah ta'ala, reflect upon the words of this profound ayah. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. Of course the ayah is addressing us. مَنْ يَرْتَدَّ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ. The one who turns away among you, minkum, an dinihi, from his deen. The one who turns back from among you from his deen. Allah didn't say all of us are turning back from our deen, a group from among us. And man is an interesting word in Arabic. It could refer to something plural, and it can also refer to something singular. So from a point of view of taqleel, it could be even if a single person is walking away from deen. They're walking away from the religion. And I've already mentioned to you this can happen in two ways. One, practically they denounce Islam altogether. And two, for all practical purposes, internally, in their heart of hearts, in their thoughts, they really don't submit to Allah. They don't really see the point of living by Allah's teachings. They don't see the point in that anymore. So for those practical purposes, they walked away from deen also, even if nobody else, human beings don't see it. We see a Muslim on the outside, we're supposed to say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. We're not supposed to judge what's in their heart, but Allah can. Allah sees what's inside. So whoever of you has walked away, or does so, then what does Allah say? فَسَوْفَ, then soon. And sawfa is the Arabic word that implies very soon. It won't take very long for Allah to take immediate steps. And what are those steps? يَأْتِ اللَّهُ بِقَوْمٍ. Allah will bring about a nation. Allah will bring forward a nation. It's very interesting. The first part was even if one of you walks away, and then Allah says Allah will bring a whole nation around. In other words, you start thinking you're special? You think Allah needs you? You think you're a contributor to Islam that nobody else can be? That you are